we are not listening to our body. We have gone so far from where we should be, and alternative medicine, the alternative medicine is the big pharma, because they've altered the native medicine. They're the alternative.
All right, welcome to the New Age Human Podcast. I'm your host. Did I say podcast? I think I said it correctly. I'm your host, John Estacio. I'm here with Gail Lynn, who is the inventor and creator of the Harmonic Egg. Welcome to the show, Gail.
Thank you for having me. This will be fun.
This is gonna be fun. We were just talking about how we have a plan of how we're gonna make everything flow. We want to talk about the tech behind the Harmonic Egg, how it's new age tech, how you came about it, but let's see how it goes, because whenever I'm talking about something exciting, some random stuff pops up and sometimes we just have to dive in. So we're going to go with the flow. So I mentioned the Harmonic Egg. What is that? What is it going on? What's going on? And it's not a med bed, but you might think about that when you see it. Go ahead, Gail. I'm very curious.
Okay, cool. It's not a med bed, but, everybody's using this buzzword, med bed. Everything's a med bed now. So it's actually a large structure that's in the shape of an egg. And, I thought it was important. Life comes from an egg. So why not put some structure together for healing in an egg, right? So it's all made out of wood, because also God or source, universe, whatever word you use, the God lives in simplicity. And so it's not high tech. It's a wooden egg without any Wi-Fi, without any Bluetooth electronics. And so many people have come to me and said, oh, you should put this screen in there, and then it'll be all this Wi-Fi stuff in there. And then you should put this spinning lazy Susan in there, and people can turn whatever way they want, or have this pulley system, and then they're hanging from... It's simple. You lay in a zero gravity chair, you listen to some consciously created music, and you live in that space of just being with you for 40 minutes of music, 10 minutes of silence. We don't have silence in our world much anymore. There's so much noise. So that 10 minutes of silence is really to help you integrate. I think the keys to it is frequency, it's vibration, it's sound waves, and it's light waves. So the frequencies come from the music, the waveforms of the music, not 528 hertz, not the solfeggio suite. What I've learned and studied is that it comes from the waveforms of instruments. The egg by itself will resonate at about 1300 hertz. So there's no point in putting 528 hertz in there. So the waveform of the flute is very simple, and we found that it works with the liver. The waveform of the drum, we've done pre and post live blood analysis. It's actually showing more white blood cells. So is it, in fact, building the immune system? The waveform of the piano is working to balance the autonomic nervous system. So after 200 tests of heart rate variability, I asked a doctor who was reading those tests for me. I'm not a doctor, but I've taken all the studies. But I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Wink, wink. Just kidding. He said I could do these corny jokes. So there's one. So the doctor has to read the heart rate variability results. And I said, okay, Dr. Denise, if I were to refund anybody who did not have an improvement in their autonomic nervous system pre and post the sound and light therapy session, how many people would I have to give their money back? And she said, none. I said, no. If I had to, I just didn't believe that the answer was 100%. She said, everybody has had an improvement in their autonomic nervous system, some slight, some off the charts. So I realize what it's doing, but I'm not putting out medical research. A lot of people put out medical research on 5 clients or patients or 10. That's not medical research to me. A controlled study to me is, here's a woman at the same age, grew up in the same house, had the same job, ate the same diet, had the same parents, lived in the same location. So really there aren't any controlled studies. When I hear of a controlled study, ages 18 to 60 from all over the world and all different races and religions, and that's not controlled to me. But they put it out as medical research. So you have the frequency, you have the vibration. So the vibration comes from, there's a subwoofer underneath the chair. and you get a sonic massage, you are not bouncing out of the chair by any means. We try to keep it at less than 90 decibels. We know that over 90 decibels, you can throw people into fight or flight. You can jack up their nervous system, and you can also damage cells. So when I do my training for my center owners, the people who purchase the Harmonic Egg, I tell them keep it at 50 to 70 decibels. And what I've noticed is, after COVID, turning the sound even lower. I don't know if you guys remember when Trump won the election, several years ago. All my clients needed lower sound after that. There was so much stress, so much collective stress that the sound needed to come down. So after COVID, the sound needed to come down. For my sessions, I'm almost using children's volume because just the stress of the collective is just there. So lower volume. There are articles that I share with my center owners that lower volume is going to help with pain more, not higher volume. We use blue light with pain as well. So frequency, vibration, sound waves. We talked about the instruments and the waveforms, and then light waves. So not only do you get sound, but you get light. So Edgar Cayce had stated a long time ago in the 40s, if you can bring together the spiritual forces of sound and the spiritual forces of light, it'd be a great modality for the future. So we have the light. So what I've studied is, chakra 1, root chakra, imbalance, could have teeth problems, hearing problems, eye problems, knee problems, feet problems, anything to do with our survival, walking, moving, eating, hearing, seeing, root chakra imbalance. To bring that back into balance, we'll use some red light and we'll use some drumming music. So I've got it down to what chakra heals with which light color and which instrument. And then when I talk to my musicians, I say, okay, we need flute and drumming for this reason. We need this created in the tone of C. We need this created in the tone of E. When you're missing a tone from your body, it will create physical and emotional issues. So the tone of E, for example, lung problems, emphysema, oxygenation issues, and then lacking the color of yellow. And then you could also relate that to medical astrology, which could be they're under the zodiac sign of a Leo. Crazy stuff. And I know you have questions. I'm watching your brain just go all over the place.
I'm like, wait. A lot of really interesting stuff. I'm thinking you just brought in astrology. So sometimes you bring in astrology into the mix when you have people enter the egg or before they enter the egg to kind of calibrate even further for them. Is that what I'm getting?
So Sherry Edwards is somebody that a lot of people will know, that she had a gift where she could hear what tone was missing. Just her human person could hear. You would talk to her and she'd say, you're missing the tone of blah, blah, blah. Well, Ani Williams is my teacher. Ani Williams took it to another level and kind of combined in astrology with that. So she would actually do your birth chart, listen to the tones that were missing, and she often found that you're missing the exact tones that weren't maybe on the planet the day that you dropped in. So you're missing those. So you go through your whole life not knowing why you have this ailment or this disease, and you say it's hereditary. But what if it isn't? What if it's just a missing tone from your voice? What if you could replenish those tones? So she's done the voice analysis on me. I've taken 2 of her courses. She has an online course. And of course, it's Ani Williams, A-N-I Williams, brilliant teacher of mine. And so she teaches how to look at the astrology and, emotional, physical, environmental. And she really resonated with me more than Sherry Edwards. I think Sherry Edwards just puts you on a machine. And we all know that the machine is only as good as the humans that designed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm thinking, so if somebody is monotone in how they talk and they don't have that much tones to them, I can totally see it, how they can be reflecting how sick they are to someone that's trained in that. And for somebody like myself that wasn't aware of that until more recently, I could just think that they're just boring, right? And interesting how the healthier the person, the more life that they have in them. And so, I know you're giggling, like, you're boring, but that just means that you're slowly dying, I guess. Like, that's just horrible. And then now you don't want to help them out because they're just like draining you to listen to them. You know, like what's that commercial? Clear Eyes. You're like, oh, he's hurting right now. Like he needs some tone therapy. He needs like a whole symphony injected into him some way. He needs like a whole weekend in an egg or something. Is that a good example?
Well, this popped up on my screen on Facebook this morning, and I was like, I'm gonna tie this into this somehow. Deepak Chopra says the body is held together by light, and the presence of disease indicates that some sounds have gone out of tune. So I think it's light and sound, but the presence of disease indicates that some sounds have gone out of tune. So it's exactly what we're just talking about, because our bodies
Makes
are
sense.
light and sound. I mean, from God, from Creator, from Source. We're vibrational beings of light. So why not heal
It
with
makes
sound and light? And yes, when people are
duh.
monotone, I've actually have a client who is a stained glass designer, so she works with lead a lot, and I can tell you when she's been doing a lot of work, because she will come in and she has a raspy voice, and I can tell that she's full of heavy metals. She comes out of the egg, and her voice is back to the way it was. You can tell from someone's voice the things that are going on. I'm not as gifted as Sherry Edwards, but I do know how to use a digital tuner and talk to somebody and listen and hear and watch what tones are missing.
I That makes me think of when some people, or just in general, you're like, oh, I think I'm coming up with a cold because my throat's getting sore, or I'm coming up with something, and it usually starts, right? You start feeling that dryness in your throat, and I'm wondering, is the throat kind of like the signal where it's like it's trying to now keep all the tones together, and because it's starting to fall apart, it's a signal saying, you know, hey, you need to fix something. But we feel it, and then you hear it, and it's interesting how that's like one of the first things that happens, your throat, which is the thing that makes the noise. So in the healing part, so like, I mean, if does that mean that if people are all 100% healed, they would be amazing singers and they won't be tone deaf? Or is it more like they'll sound more full?
Okay, that brings up a couple of things. So the first question is, well, let me go to the singer thing because that's on my mind right now. A lady actually told
Okay.
me after her session, she said she felt like she had complete all the tones in her voice. And she said she was singing beautifully and brilliantly. So, and I know when Ani tested me for the voice analysis, my brain's going 3,000 miles an hour right now. So she said I was missing a couple of tones, which were indicative of Scorpio, which I'm a Scorpio when I was born. But after doing sessions in the Harmonic Egg, and she tested me again, she said, Gail, I'm telling you, this egg has to be doing something because you are a little bit low on a couple of things, but you're not missing anything. So blew
Wow.
my mind. So we now use her music. And so if somebody comes in and we can tell from their symptoms that they're missing certain tones, our music's created that way. This is the tone of G. This is the tone of F sharp. This is the tone of E, C. So we have music created that way. But what you were saying about the sore throat, we are not discerning right now. Like people are just, they go to a doctor and they say, what's wrong with me? What do I do? And that makes me crazy. We are not listening to our body. We have gone so far from where we should be, and alternative medicine, the alternative medicine is the big pharma because they've altered the native medicine. They're the alternative.
Mm.
So we have gone so far away from listening to our bodies. Our bodies are perfect. They've been created perfectly, and we should just listen to them. So I will tell people, if you stub your toe and then you hurt your knee and then you hurt your elbow, I said, if you don't listen to your body, ultimately it will result in death. And they think I'm crazy. They're like, well, I just stubbed my toe. Did you stub your right toe or your left toe? You got the divine feminine side. You've got the masculine side. Was it something you stubbed your toe and your toe is about, moving forward? Did you hurt your knee? Are you being inflexible somewhere? Are you being stubborn somewhere? We really shouldn't have any pains or any aches. And when we do, we should say, okay, let me listen. There's a book called Messages from the Body by Dr. Michael Lincoln. And you could look up anything in that book. And so L4 and L5 vertebrae, lower back pain, could be financial stress, but it could also be abandonment issues. So you look at, where is this pain coming from? What do I need to fix in my life? And if you do this, I mean, the sky is the limit. I don't think that really we need to age. We've been hoodwinked to believe that we have to age, and the telomeres and the DNA and this and that, and we just age and we have to die. But what if? What if we didn't? What if we actually could live a very long time because we listened to our bodies and we didn't believe the narrative of we have to die? I mean, I have a philosophy. I have a PhD in philosophy, which I don't put on any of my, you won't see it on my book or anything like that, because I talk to these doctors that have Harvard degrees and Yale and Pepperdine, and I bought my degree. I went to school for 13 years and I bought my degree. That's how I see it. And if somebody needs to know that I have letters behind my name to know that I'm credible and they like what I have, well, I don't want that. I want to stand on myself for who I am, what I've created, and the testimonials that it creates for people and the lifestyle that it gives to people. So you won't see PhD on anything because I don't want to be ridiculed, and it doesn't matter.
It's as we're talking as I'm learning about how this works on people, it's my mind is starting to like reconfigure of what I think is going on when we get sick. And I'm thinking about, do I have abandonment issues because my lower back? But I am thinking about money often. So it's like, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's thinking that stuff, right? And you're like, what is that book? Where's this? Where can I find this egg? So getting into the egg, I'm wondering, when you jump in there, and like, is this like the experience in the egg? Do people have like, do they start shaking? Or you watch these movies and they go through these miraculous healing journeys where like, I saw space and I traveled through time and I hallucinated and I did. Do anybody, like, are there any stories of people experiencing things, or am I just kind of like overthinking the situation and it's very simple?
No. And let me say too, there's a couple other books I'll put out there. One is called Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. Great title, right? Okay. And then another one's called Who's the Matter with Me? And then you have all the
it's like a dad joke.
Yeah, right. It's hilarious. So there's a variety of experiences people have. Anywhere from they fell asleep and it felt like 5 minutes and nothing happened, to which funny. There's always something that happens. But when people are not tuned into their body, they'll just tell you nothing happened. And then I'll talk to their partner later and they'll be like, what did you do? My partner's, he's more, he's happier, or she's not as agitated. So sometimes they'll say nothing happened, but when you talk to somebody who's close to them, they'll tell you something happened. So that's quite comical. And then you have all the way to the extreme. So 2 stories come to mind. One lady had chronic Lyme disease. And she said, Gail, I know that medically the Lyme disease is gone, but emotionally it's not. So she got into the egg, and she said what happened was, she said she saw from her guides, and she said they were andromedans. She saw from her guides that there was a energetic tick in her head, and she said it literally jumped out. It started running around the egg, and it got chopped up by an andromedan. Okay, now, I'm a blue-collar Detroit girl. So when I hear these stories, I think people are a little crazy. But I have heard hundreds of these stories where people have experiences where a past pet will come and lick their face. They'll tune into people who have passed that come to them inside the egg. One lady said that she feels like there's spiritual beings like such as angels, and this will scare some people away from doing it. And I feel bad saying it, but this, anything happens. You can have nothing, and I'll go to the medical explanation as well. But yeah, she said that it's almost like spiritual angels that come in and work on you, like psychic surgeries people talk about. And then there was another
Wow.
lady who was a medium in a channel, and she said, "Oh God, everybody's always asking me to try these things. None of them ever work. Yeah, whatever." So she gets in, and I guess the best explanation to the shortest story is she gets in. All of a sudden, she said she's taken up almost like an elevator, like 20 floors, flies up, elevator doors open. She has this whole experience, very spiritual experience, downloads all kinds of information. When they opened the door to the egg, they said her hair was all disheveled and it looked like she really went somewhere. And I just have to laugh. And she's like, okay, this is the real deal because, it's something actually happened. But when I talk to medical doctors, I can talk about the heart rate variability. And there isn't any medicine on the planet right now that can balance your autonomic nervous system. I mean, you can work on stomach pains and liver pains and allergies and insomnia, and they have Parkinson's meds and they have chemo, but there's really not a lot to balance the autonomic nervous system. And when you look at the autonomic nervous system, it's connected to every organ in your body, every system in your body. So when that's not in balance and you're stuck in fight or flight, then stuff's going to happen. I was trying not to swear. Stuff's going to happen.
Go ahead. Don't pull back.
I know.
Give us some emotion.
Since my radio show is don't do stupid shit to your body.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I can say, shit's going to happen when you're not in balance. We all know we need balance. So I used to work out like a crazy person. I did circuit training. I did sparring. I did karate. I was working out 7 days a week. And when I opened my own business, I didn't have time to work out. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to turn to fat and flab and, it's going to be horrible. As soon as I balanced my autonomic nervous system, I was more tone. Okay, this blows my mind too. I was more tone and healthier than when I was working out every day. So I don't work out now. I have a horse, so I go out to see my horse. But most of the time I'm sitting in front of this computer, and I am more toned now than when I worked out.
Wow. So I know you're going to raise a few eyebrows. And so just to clarify, what is the autonomic nervous system?
So the autonomic nervous system it's basically automatic. We breathe without thinking about it. I'm moving my arms without really thinking about it. I blink my eyes without thinking about it. Sometimes we drive without thinking about it, right?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Autopilot. And so it's your fight and flight and your rest and digest in the simplest form. So we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is you're in fight or flight all the time. The saber-toothed tiger or the bear is chasing you 24/7. It's never going to stop chasing you. And that's where a lot of us are now since COVID, where there's so much stress. And then people lost their jobs, they lost their houses. It's like a bad country song. We need to play that country song backwards. Get your house back, get your dog back,
right.
Get your job back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So then you have the parasympathetic.
That's a smart, I was going to say, that's a smart, I think you have something there. You might want to start some albums, the reverse country music, it's all positive. It's not loss of everything, it's gain of everything. I was just like, that's hilarious.
Play backwards. So the parasympathetic is your rest and digest. If you're not resting and digesting, things aren't going to work right. So that has to be in balance. And that's why I say that when you're using sound and light as vibrational beings of light, using sound and light, you can bring your body back into balance. So a lot of people are saying, well, more people are having heart attacks right now. And is it because of a certain situation that we were put under? Or is it because these are athletes who are under extreme amount of stress from the collective stress, plus they're working out like crazy people to stay in shape, to do their sport, their passion, their career? Are they dropping dead because it's the compact, the autonomic's not in balance, and they're working out and they're stressed out, and then boom, a heart attack? I mean, I don't know. We don't really know. But I love to be a private investigator. And when somebody tells me something, I don't believe any narratives. I don't believe what I see on the news. I don't believe what I read on the internet. I tune into my own self. I sit in silence and meditate or pray. And then I take the best of what I hear and I throw the rest out. And that's what we don't do. We're not critical thinkers right now. We're not using common sense. And we're asking somebody, tell me what's wrong with me. Tell me what to do. And we should be going inward and asking ourselves.
Okay. And I'm still thinking of country music. No, but I like I like how you broke down like a lot of these stories where people have weird experiences of, it's such a range of experiences from being in an elevator to, no, I just slept after 5 minutes of listening music, and then they're a completely different person. And then for you to worry about, oh, I have to work all the time and I don't have time to go back to the gym, and now you're more toned than before, which is, it's making it a little difficult to wrap the brain around, I will say. And it's and I think it's fascinating how sound and light can get such great results. And I'm not surprised that you have multiple locations that have these geometric chambers and a bunch of different places. I am curious though. I know we were talking the other day about some crazy success stories that you were sharing of people that had amazing, problem solved, amazing experiences. And I want to see if you can share a couple of them, because I want people to be excited about new technology, something that's different, something that's powerful. Because there's going to be more of this coming out in the future, and I know that you're going to be at the forefront of that, and you are already. So I would love to hear some success stories.
Well, and I will say that like the cream rises to the top. If you ever, saw cream with milk, the cream rises to the top. I think a more simplistic technology without a lot of EMF exposure is going to be more of the cream that rises to the top. And yeah, I mean, I have some amazing stories. I'll start with my sister. That's the first one that comes up. So, and again, because I say my sister, because I can follow her through the journey, where a lot of clients I would see for 10 weeks, and then their, tumors were shrinking. They don't have insomnia anymore. Their tremors are going away from their Parkinson's, but I don't get to follow them through their lifetime and see how they're doing a year from now or 10 years from now. So my sister was stuck in fight or flight. Okay. Not a good situation. It's a bad place to be in. So she had 15 years of unable to get pregnant. So they just stopped using birth control because she couldn't get pregnant. But think about it. When you are stuck in fight or flight, do you think a little soul is going to want to come into that body that's running from a bear or a saber-toothed tiger 24/7?
No, it does not sound like a fun ride to be part of.
I think as a little soul, I'd be like, stay away from that body. So she came in to do sessions. She flew in from Michigan to see me in Colorado. She did some sessions and she was back to her normal self. She's very witty. She's very funny. She was happier. She laughed. She was horny. Her boyfriend, it was her boyfriend at the time. She got pregnant within 7 days and she knew it. And, It was crazy. So that little soul was just sitting outside, just waiting. And I have a 10-year-old nephew now. Just waiting. And he was like, oh, this is a perfect place to now be. And he came in to be there. And I've had 9 other women who couldn't get pregnant and then they were, pregnant. It's not going to happen for everybody, but I'm just saying, think about the common sense of that. You're in a chaotic situation. A little soul's not going to want to come in. You balance out. You have this very beautiful place to live, and the soul comes in. So I actually have a 10-year-old nephew as a result of balancing the autonomic nervous system. And I can, I've been able to follow my sister through. Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, to me, my dad had a 7th grade education, but he had the most common sense of anybody I ever have known or ever probably will know. And he used to say, he goes, I'm sure glad I got out of there when I did, because he said those people with more education are stupid. He used to just say that. He said the more education you have, the stupider you are. He used to say that all the time. So he would say, I'm glad I left when I was in 7th grade. But he was brilliant. He would take engineers and automotive and, they're over there with their calculators because there's a gap between the bumper in the car of the Mustang going down the assembly line, and the engineers over there with their little calculators and their pieces of paper My dad takes a rubber mallet. He says, here, little diagram, hit here. Bam, bam, all the way down the line. I mean, he just would fix things in a very practical, pragmatic way. So I digress. But so another situation was my boyfriend. He was with the love of his life that they met in the Navy, 27 years of marriage, kids. She ended up with, this was before COVID, but she ended up with the flu and aspirated and died, when she went up to take a shower. So, of course, the love of his life, he had a heart attack. He ended up with a pacemaker. And I really feel like a piece of his heart died with her. And so the doctors told him 40% of your heart died. So they put in a pacemaker. And 10 years later, he's with me for about 5 years at this time, because now we've been together about 12 years. And he had to get the battery replaced in his pacemaker. So they had to do ejection fraction, cardiac output numbers on his heart, and a lot of medical doctors coming into the center at the time. So I asked this one doctor, I said, this is what's going on. He said, give me his numbers and I'll tell you how much of his heart is still dead. Okay. So I give him the numbers and he's looking at them, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at the number, and he's looking at me, and he's like, these are his numbers? I said, well, yeah, that's what you asked me for. Ejection fraction, cardiac output. He goes, his heart is fully functioning. This is a normal functioning heart. And I said, wait, now, this is a guy, my boyfriend, 22 years of the Navy, kind of this, manly, masculine dude. He said, oh, nothing happens in there. But I'm watching his blood pressure come down. I'm watching his cholesterol come down. I'm watching his glucose numbers come down. Yes, he's changing his diet because he's feeding me healthy, so he's eating healthier. But can a heart regenerate? Why not? Can organs regenerate? We know they can. Or he just loves me so much that his heart grew like the Grinch.
You're waiting for that. You're just waiting for that.
I was waiting to say that.
And I think it's I think it's in a way, yeah, and then also I'm guessing you put him in the egg as well as part of it, or is it being around you as well?
So I think
he was in the egg a lot.
He's in the egg a lot. He actually, his sessions are every Sunday. I make him dinner. He makes me dinner all week, and then I cook one day a week. I'm very lucky, very blessed, because I put all my energy into helping people, helping the center owners that have my technology. And so one day a week, I'm actually making him some homemade ramen today. I was at the Asian store yesterday, making him homemade ramen today. And then he does his sessions on Sundays. So every Sunday he goes in there. And he's had a knee replacement. He's got a pacemaker. He's 70 years old. I'm 52. He's just, we met a long time ago, probably thousands of years ago. There's something, that we have going on. But I was listening to the song this morning, Save the Last Dance. And I feel like he saved the last dance for me. I would try not to cry.
Oh, that's cute.
Because when I met him in 2007, we broke up after about 10 weeks. We broke up. But I met him in 2007, and my intuitive thing was, I'll be there when this guy dies. And it was such a weird feeling. I'm like, I don't even know this guy, but I'm going to be there when he dies. And so then we broke up. So that was very confusing for me, because I thought, okay, well, where did that was such a strong feeling. What was that about? 7 years later, he was like, he had just lost his wife, probably maybe a year and a half, 2 years. So he was on this mission of like trying to sleep with all the girls on the north side of his town, right? So, and he said, you're a good girl. I didn't want to hurt you. He goes, I fell in love with you as soon as I met you, but it just was bad timing. So 7 years later, we got back together, and he said we were on break. It's a 7-year break.
That's a long break.
Yeah, it's a long break. So that's another story. Another kid that came in. So I like threes. So I'll tell you threes, and then we can move on. Another kid came in the center, 17-year-old kid. He had a x-ray. He broke his foot playing soccer. He was the best one on the team, and he wanted to play in the tournament in 2 weeks. And I said, dude, you got a broken foot and you play soccer. Probably not going to happen. No. He said, my brother came to you when he had Lyme disease and he was in bed. And now his brother plays professional golf and went to Michigan, University of Michigan. And he said, "You help my brother, you can help me." Oh my gosh. Well, that's kind of heavy to put on me, right? So I said, okay. I said, well, this is what I know I can do. Didgeridoo has helped people with broken bones since the Aborigines days, about 40,000 years ago. This is documented stuff. So we have drumming, we have didgeridoo, helping with physical ailments, helping with broken bones. So I said, this is the best I can do. We'll do a couple drumming sessions and we'll see what we can do. So he came in with a walking boot the first day. I'm trying to remember the story. This was years ago. Came in with a walking boot. And then the next session, he had a tennis shoe on. I said, come on. He goes, I'm serious. It doesn't hurt. And I said, are you just trying to fake it till you make it? And he said, no. So did another drumming session with him. And I heard him praying. I heard him praying to God in there. And prayer is very powerful. We need more non-physical studies because it's the non-local realm. Prayer works. Mm-hmm. So he was in there praying. He played in the tournament, and there was a lot of crazy stories around this whole thing that happened. But he played in the tournament, and who knows? The doctors said, well, maybe we misdiagnosed him. Maybe that was a hair on the X-ray. It really wasn't a fracture or a crack or broken. Okay, what it could have, I don't know. How do you explain that? I can't explain the unexplainable.
Like a boot, right?
Yeah. It was a diagnosis from the doctor that it was broken.
And also, too, there's a lot of people like myself. I'm being self-conscious. I went to the chiropractor because I was worried about my neck with being on the phone and driving a lot and just other people having just accidents at work. And now it's got my mind thinking about bones and subluxations and things that are off. And I'm like, if this can help with someone's broken bone or fractured bone, and then there's so much that frequency and sound and light can help because we are made out of that. I'm wondering how that would work with me, and I would like to be my own little experiment to follow up with anybody that wants to know, because these are some pretty powerful stories with technology that people have never heard of.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to share that. I mean,
well, and tell me, ancient technologies, ancient practices where people were using musical instruments for healing. You see in the museums, you see flutes, you see drums, you see, all this stuff. Is it the lyre? You see all these string instruments, and the only explanation I have is greed and money. Because how do you charge somebody to listen to the guitar? How do you charge somebody to listen to the drum? How do you charge somebody to sit, in nature? So that has been suppressed from being something healthy because people can't make money off of it. It's very sad.
Yeah, and you also hear people that are dancing and singing, and it makes it rain, right?
Yep.
Like literal rain dances, and you can change the whole atmosphere, and we can do some amazing stuff. But to your point, I completely agree, and I see it all the time where we could have done, as I learn and go down my rabbit holes and try to understand it, I learn about the power frequency and how this scientist found this. You have Tesla's story, and then all of a sudden he was talking about cell phones back in the 1700s, I think that was, or the early or mid, whatever, Tesla time, bro. He's like, yeah, pretty soon we'll be communicating with people on devices in our hands across the globe. And I'm like, and it took us in my opinion, it took us a long time to get there because they had to figure out how to own the situation instead of letting people just go with it and use it. And now we're dealing with technology that allows us to do that, but unfortunately it hurts us. And so I like hearing about these stories of new ways and better ways of doing things that are simple, like you said, using the materials that are healthy for us, that are naturally there, less fabricated materials that help us. And I can't wait to hear about other technologies from going with that same method, right? I love that stuff. And I'm actually curious. I know that I'm surprised I didn't ask earlier, but getting into this, like, what got you into, and you can sum it up if you want. You don't have to take too long getting into it because I know we've been talking for a little bit, but I'm curious, what got you into this? Like, what started it all?
I think it's the same healer story. And I don't consider myself a healer, but this is just how people, how they describe it. The same healer story. I was sick. I had migraine headaches for 23 years. My hair was falling out. I had cystic acne. I had liver problems, thyroid problems, reproductive problems, insomnia for 20 years. So, and I also saw my mom overweight, diabetic. I saw my dad, smoker, drinker, sick all the time. So it was my passion to say, okay, what is out there? And the funny universe, what the universe did is when I was 17 years old, I worked for a doctor's office, right? So who would have thought that
When you were 17?
17 years old, I worked at a doctor's office. I was the front desk girl, and they prescribed diet pills like they were candy. And my boyfriend's grandmother went there, and what I found out, it was speed. And I went to one of the doctors and I said, look at her chart. She's been coming here for 20 years and she's not lost any weight. She's gained 20 pounds. I'm 17 years old, right? And I'm questioning the doctor. This is how crazy I am. I call myself a rebel. And he said, Gail, she says, it makes me feel so good and I can get all my housework done. And they're putting people on speed. So then I was watching them overprescribe pain medicine where they said you have to get a prescription every 30 days and people would come in and I would turn them down. I said, you can't get your prescription because it's only about 15 days. I got fired. But this whole thing, I think God, source, universe, whatever word you use, was conspiring to put me in all these different places to learn. But I didn't put the puzzle pieces together until later. But I had asked this one doctor about the migraines. He's like, oh, there's really nothing you can do with migraines. Nobody knows why you get them. And I'm like, you know what? That's a BS answer, and I'm going to find the answer. So now what I do know, migraines, and I've written articles about this. I've talked about this because 23 years of a debilitating illness, if you will, they were bad headaches. You're talking throwing up, diarrhea at the same time. You're talking someone takes a spike, puts it in your head and moves it around for 15 hours. If you have an official migraine, you cannot talk, you cannot be out, you cannot be in the light, you cannot eat, you cannot function, you can't even pronounce words. So sometimes my mom would call me, oh, I'm having a migraine. I'm like, and she's like, I just had some lunch. I'm like, you wouldn't be able to eat. You are not having a migraine. You have a headache. But then the doctor put her on migraine pills, which I think ultimately caused her brain aneurysm, and she died. So, migraines are a lot of dysautonomia, which is imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. So is Pott's disease, so is Lyme disease, so is a lot of other diseases. It's an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. Bring that nervous system back into balance, your body can heal naturally just as God intended it. So migraines can be that. It can be from food. It can be from heavy metals, like a Lyme disease, Epstein-Barr disease can create migraines. It can be from parasites. It can be from a liver issue. So you really have to get down to, it could be a non-rashing shingles virus. I mean, you really have to get down to the gnat's ass about it and figure out what is it that's going on. Same with tinnitus or tinnitus. You got inflammation, which usually if you have just inflammation with a few sessions in the Harmonic Egg, you get the ringing to stop. But it can also be liver issues, kidney issues. It can be heavy metals. It can be a viral load. So clients have to be a little patient because when you've had something for so long and it's built up and it's created inflammation and liver issues and kidney issues, and you have heavy metals from wherever you worked or amalgam fillings or a chromium cobalt hip, you might have some cobalt poisoning and that's going to cause Parkinson's symptoms. So I love to be a private investigator and a researcher. That's what I do. That's what I do best. And that's how I have learned all these answers. And when someone says, okay, it's a blood disease. So I took a 4-hour how to read blood work, course because I wanted to figure this out. And then I'm the one on the internet going, okay, when someone has a low white blood cell count and a high ALT and a high AST, what's going on? And I will do the utmost research to help somebody who says they're desperate. So to help somebody who says, no one can fix this. That to me is a huge challenge. And so what we've done is create music to help with the basic root causes of disease.
Wow. And like you said, a lot of times when you are a healer, that's because you had to go through the journey of healing yourself. And I'm guessing you don't have migraines anymore. Do you even have like slight headaches, or is it kind of like nothing?
I get headaches
Wow.
because of refined sugar. I have not had a migraine, and thank God. I mean, they were horrible. Anybody who has migraines, my heart goes out to you because they are awful. You don't know when they're coming on. I'd be at the grocery store. Grocery cart just gets flung because I got to get home because I know in 45 minutes I am done. I cannot function for
Wow.
15 hours. I'd be at work and I'd just leave a meeting. I would just be at a lunch. I'd have to leave. A dinner, have to just leave. No explanation. I got to go. I got to get home and get in a dark room. So my heart goes out to them. But what was I saying?
Well, I was actually going to get into how long did it take for you
Oh,
to get over your migraines?
so the refined sugars.
And
Let me
I'm
just
guessing
go
you
back to
used,
that. Yeah. So
yeah.
now I know if I have too many refined sugars, and too many is, I think, 20 grams of refined sugar a day for women and maybe 26 for a guy. I can't remember the numbers. But if you look at what has sugar in it, we're talking barbecue sauce, pasta sauce, marinara. You're talking everything has refined sugar in it. So I have to be really careful. I will get a right side headache if I have too much sugar. So as far as the migraines go, it took about 20 sessions. And what I was noticing, I had hope because after a few sessions, I got more migraines, but they were less intense and lasted less time. So I would have originally a 15-hour migraine, and then they went to 10 hours, then they went to 8 hours, then they went to, I would lose the vision, but not get the pain. So I'd have an optical migraine with no pain, and then they were gone. So probably about 20 sessions.
Wow. And your body went through different cycles and then it just finished.
Yep.
Wow. Do you feel like it empowered you to be more mindful of your lifestyle, where it's like you're like a reset button, so to speak? And so you're more like harmonic energetically instead of needing to take that pill. Like someone takes the pill and then they're dependent on the pill. Do you feel like the sessions empower the person to be more balanced?
Yeah, if you balance your nervous system, you're not going to be so all the time, which I was. I was bouncing off the walls all the time because I was stuck in fight or flight, I think since, I say since the age of 1.5 years old. I remember the first time I realized I had a parasympathetic nervous system because I was flying down the road, speeding. I passed a cop and I felt this warm sensation that started in my belly, right around the sacral chakra. And it went all the way up into my neck, and I could feel this warm sensation. I looked in the rear view mirror, I looked in the side mirrors. The cops he wasn't coming after me, or she. And then I could feel that sensation go down, and I thought, OMG, I just went into fight or flight. But I was always there, so I would never notice it until that time.
Oh, wow.
And then it went back down. That's how the nervous system's supposed to function. The bear is either going to kill you in 5 minutes, or you're going to get away and survive, and then you get out of the fight or flight. But people are running from the bear 24/7 right now, and they're sick. People are really sick.
Wow. I'm thinking about it now. Let's say theoretically, let's say obviously the harmonic egg is really good with helping with your autonomic nervous system. Do you have any tips, maybe a handful of tips for someone who finds themselves in that fight or flight mode, which mostly I argue 100% of people are in that, between the constant just barrage of, I call it fear porn, when you're on social media, and
Fear
it's just
porn.
one thing after the next. And it's addicting, right? Because you're like, oh my god, this is so horrible. What else? What advice do you have for those people, whether it be like music, a routine that they could do? I'm just very curious to see what kind of advice you have for those people, which is everybody, but
Tons of
how to
stuff.
get out of that fight or flight mode.
Make sure you're hydrated is one. Two is deep breathing. So I don't know how to describe this, but sometimes when you take a deep breath and then you can get that sigh that is just the biggest sigh of relief ever, that's balancing your nervous system. If you were actually to make an audible noise and you did that, you would have every tone in your voice from that heavy sigh. Now, some people just deep breathe and then it's an exercise of deep breathing, but we're talking about that breath where and it's, when you get to that place where you actually got that really good sigh. So deep breathing is one of the best things you can do to reboot and reset the autonomic nervous system, or we call it the ANS. Grounding, getting your ass out in nature, hugging trees. I hug my horse, right? And she knows when I'm stressed out, she's like, stay the hell away from me, girl, because you are like a really hot mess of energy. I have to clear myself, or else she's just like, stay away. She'll hug me a lot of the times, but I've got to clear my energy because she doesn't want that hot mess of energy, nor do I. So, and my go-to is 60s and 70s music. There wasn't a time in history that I believe that music was so full of love and inspiration and just joy and meaning. So for me, it's like just my Sirius app, the Sirius radio app, boom, 60s, 70s music, I can drop right down into balance. So stay away from sugar, caffeine. You're just going to get yourself in refined sugar, not fruit sugar. Fruit sugar is perfect. Stay away from that. Stay away from reds, oranges, lights, because they're very stimulating, or colors. So don't put like that color in your kitchen because it's going to make you want to eat more. So I go with blues, purples, and greens. Green is nature. It's neutral color. That's why grass is green and trees are green and leaves are green. It's a neutral color, very healing, very balancing. Blues are very cooling, calming, help with pain, reduce inflammation. Purples, very calming, cooling. My bedroom is purple. My office is blue. You guys can see in the background. And purple's very detoxing as well. So, when we work with autism, it's only the purples, blues, greens, because they definitely don't like the stimulating colors either. So lots of stuff you can do.
Oh wow! Thanks for those tips. I gotta look for a nice hit list, or like 70s and 80s hit list now. I don't know about for working out because you need some more aggressive stuff, but definitely for relaxing.
I don't work out anymore, so
Yeah. Because you're good.
I'm
That's
toned.
funny. That's so cool.
It's crazy. It blew my mind for a long time. It took me a long time to get that stuck in my head that you can actually balance your nervous system. I mean, we didn't have 24-hour fitness on every corner in the 40s, 50s. How did those people stay? We're more obese now. So we're more stressed out now. Yep. There's the clue.
Yeah, you see these old movies and you're like, wait, there was the fat person, the fat friend, not just everybody is a little fluffy, Yeah. Okay, cool. So thank you for breaking that down. I know a lot of people are going to appreciate that, especially nowadays. And there's always some story. I'm not discrediting anything. I'm just saying there's always reasons, right, to be stressed, and there's also reasons to relax. And we are more capable of finding solutions and getting ahead in life when we're relaxed, because that's where you get the answers, right? My time is in the shower. I'm more relaxed. Even though it's bad, I put it like full blast heat because I want to, like, quote unquote, melt away the stress, or just wake me up in the morning. And then I turn it into ice cold water to give me that nice shock and struggle to breathe. But that's like my way of just kind of like shocking my way into the day and giving myself a pat on the back saying, you went through some crazy stuff this morning, self-inflicted, but it was, you're here, you're present. Let's go. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. You're shaking your head. That's not a good thing.
I can't do the cold shower thing. I have tried to turn it to cold, and I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah, you can't breathe.
I know.
Yeah, and then they have the cold plunges, and like that's another science. That's another way of doing stuff.
Yeah, I've done it
for some
but
people.
It threw me into fight or flight. So I was like, no, that is not. I mean, everybody has their own combination that's going to work for them. I love the sound and light therapy because I know what it does. But I also love a touch massage. I mean, I just love that. So there's combinations. Some people love acupuncture. Some people love chiropractic. Some people just love remote energy work. I mean, you find the combination that works for you. And that's why I say tune into your gut, tune into your intuition, sit in silence. If you walk into a place, now I'm still guilty of this, but if you have an appointment, you walk into a place and you're like, oh no, the energy in here is horrible. It's probably going to hurt me. Walk out. Because so many times I've been hurt. I've been hurt and left with those people's fears, with their emotions, with their sadness, with all their baggage, because I'm an empath. And I wish I would have left. And it took me 2 weeks to get back to my own normal self.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That happened to me. I had to reset.
Yeah.
And, I'm pretty sure if I did an egg session, I would have been able to reset a lot faster. So I know that's going to be good for people that are empaths, right? Sensitive emotionally to other people. That's huge. And that's why we need more of this stuff. We need to be more of this stuff. We need to be aware of it. We need more people like you creating it so that someone like myself can just hop in an egg and, go into the beyond. I know that we've been chatting for a while. I definitely want, if anybody has been triggered and they want to, maybe I shouldn't say triggered, if anybody's been inspired to learn a little bit more about you and what you're doing and what you're creating, how can they find you? And feel free to share anything that you're working on right now.
Right. Well, you know what? Triggers are treasures. It's just an opportunity for you to improve. I love my triggers. I'm like, ooh, somewhere else I can improve. My website is harmonicegg.com. Pretty easy. My book is there and it talks about all the things you can do at home. If you don't have access to a harmonic egg, or you don't want to go out in public, or you don't want to spend the money, buy the book. It'll tell you how the autonomic nervous system works, how sound and light works, give you some things you can do at home. You can go get colored light bulbs. You can have colored glasses. You can do a lot of things at home with color and sound. And then we have a whole suite of music products that are all consciously created music. I actually heard from a naturopathic doctor yesterday. She said, listen, I listen to a lot of frequency music. And she said, yours is the best. And I was like, really? Because we put so much love into it. And you can feel it. You can feel the love in the music and the frequency pieces. And they all have instructions on how to use the piece of music, the colors that are intended for it, the tones that it's created in, the instruments that are used. It's really fun. Yeah, and then we also have a home unit called the lift. And then we have the commercial unit, which is the larger egg, which is literally takes up about a 14 by 14 size room. But the lift is only 48 inches in diameter and 78 inches tall. But I still use the Tesla mathematics of 3, 6, and 9 for all the dimensions and use sacred geometry in all of my technology. So it's pretty fun. But I'm a total nerd.
I love it. Yes, more nerds. That's so cool, right? Well, I hope you don't circle your room 3 times before you exit like Tesla did with his hotel. That was nuts. And if you do, then I'm not judging. I'm not judging at all.
But like Sheldon on Big Bang, where he has to knock 3 times.
Yes.
Penny. Knock, knock, knock.
Yes.
Penny.
Yeah, he has some trade-off,
Yeah.
and he's entertaining, and
Totally.
the guy doesn't age apparently, so he's doing something right. Thank you for coming on. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
It
you
was fun.
taking the time to share. I had fun too.